When we look at aesthetics within filmmaking, it's very easy to talk about a director's visual style or traits that are on the screen because they're right in front of us, the viewer. Wes Anderson's symmetrical imagery, Christopher Nolan's explosive visuals, which are often accompanied with a grandiose and loud score, or the whimsical nature of the Coen brothers' work. These styles are original to them, but when it comes to aesthetics, at least for me, there's often a questioning of why. Why do these filmmakers go out of their way to make these elaborate and very, very expensive decisions? I often see it nowadays on social media where people will post screenshots of a film, and I think we always label them as beautiful, and that isn't credit to the DP. But in order to get deeper into this answer of a filmmaker's aesthetic, I must look back at our readings and one of my favorite directors, Bob Fosse. You can correctly define the origin of aesthetics by looking at the studies of D.W. Griffith and the narrator system, or Sergei Eisenstein and his theory of montage, which will all be correct in their own sense. But Martin Lefebvre's on Memory and Imagination in the cinema reading we had a few weeks back just spoke the most to me in terms of general aesthetics for filmmaking. He discusses how memory is an important role in the act of spectating or watching a film, and I'd like to think it plays a more crucial role in the art of making a film. So I'd love to look back at both the art of watching and creating within the realm of memory. Looking at the films of Lenny and Cabaret, which harken back to the old-style theater and filmmaking that Fosse grew up watching, it makes sense why it built to such an existential masterpiece like All That Jazz, which is a film about Fosse's personal relationship with death in the style of classical old musical theater. And let's just listen to him talk about it.
Well, it's the history of it is odd because I was in the hospital myself and had been ill.
You had a heart attack, and you?
I had a heart attack and open heart surgery, and I became very interested in death and hospital behavior and the meaning of life and death and those kinds of subjects. And so I started working with a friend of mine, a writer by the name of Robert Allen Arthur, on the screenplay of a novel called Ending by Wilma Politzer. And it was about dealing with death. And this particular one was about a woman whose husband was dying and her problems with the children, her problems about money, her sex problems, etc. And it was we got a screenplay, and it was a beautifully written screenplay, but it was just so down. And every day I would go to work and I say, it's a lovely piece of material, but I've got to spend 1.5 years with this to 2 years, and I don't think I can face this kind of material. It was real, what we used to call kitchen drama. You know, it was very heavy. And I said, I like the subject, and I would really like to do something in the same area, but with the tools I can use best, which is song and dance.
Fosse's relationship with his near-death experience and blending it with his typical quote-unquote Fosse flair of highly theatrical moments, show-tuned songs, and a bit of cynicism is just a starting ground for my personal opinion on aesthetics. The second half would begin with the audience's perception, or as Lefebvre calls it, symbolic process, the relationship between the film and the viewer's memory. If you look back at something like Indiana Jones, the sequence where the boulder is coming towards the audience is something that would stick out and make you remember that film. Or in Back to the Future, the Earth Angel sequence for me is what always sticks out. And in the case of this film, it's always going to be that big epic finale where Joe Gideon performs his last performance in front of everyone. And it really is because of my personal relation to the film. Every viewer watching has dealt with death in some way, and for me, it's being in a hospital when someone close to me was slipping away. Though it isn't explicitly clear where Joe Gideon is heading from the get-go, the imagery of Jessica Lange's angelic presence and Joe Gideon recounting his life gives the clues that the film is steamrolling to its protagonist's demise within the opening minutes. Listening to Fosse's meditative discussion about the craftsmanship of the film and Lefebvre's talk about Memoria and its integration with imagination, it makes the grand finale feel heightened in that you are in the process of losing a friend you've never even met in your entire life. It's heartbreaking, yet just so beautiful that films have the power to do this. This film truly embodies all of the elements of time, space, and memory that we discussed in class. While this course winds down, and I review all of the films we've had to analyze and their relationship with time, space, and memory, I've come to the conclusion that I want my work to be unashamedly me, just like Fosse's was unashamedly him, and really resemble my current views of the world and life itself, but also still be really fun and cinematic, because that's why we go to the movies, for fun and just to escape. The reason I constantly revisit all that jazz isn't because it's a soapy quote-unquote kitchen drama, as Fosse would say, but because it's a lively and personal retelling of a man's life and death instead of just a dreary depiction of death. One of his most famous quotes is, "Don't dance for the audience, dance for yourself." And that's what I would like my relationship with my work and for my aesthetic to be in my life. Thank you.